I'm not accepting that it's alive, but I'm not accepting that it's dead.
What
either.
is it then?
I genuinely,
What is the
it's a middle ground. This is what I'm saying.
There's
Where
no
is the
such
middle
thing.
ground? Because realistically,
There's no such thing as a middle ground. What you want to do is excuse the behaviour of abortion. As soon as you deregulate the family, you've deregulated society, you've deregulated your ability to work, and it completely messes up the social fabric of society.
if someone gets raped or anything like that, and then they end up getting pregnant, and surely it should be up to them not to live with the life sentence. Now, I'm not saying a kid is a life sentence,
Quick
but
question.
I am saying.
Quick question.
Go on.
If we were to agree that we can have abortions in the case of rape, can I shake your hand and say that in all cases of consensual sex where someone has an abortion is wrong?
What, so you think someone having consensual sex is wrong? Or
No, I
getting
think that
pregnant?
someone having an abortion, and by the way, if you look at the last census, most abortions are at the case of consensual sex.
Yeah.
I think that if you look at last year's abortion cases, 48% of pregnancies end up in
But
abortions.
don't you think?
Do you not think 48%? That's
no,
nearly
I think
50.
That's high. I think that's. I can
Do you
agree
think
with
that's
you
wrong?
That's high, but I think.
Do you think that's wrong?
I think we should be educated so it doesn't have to be that way. I understand what you're saying.
Why do you think
Someone-
educated societies are the more likely ones to have abortion? It's because it therefore becomes a lifestyle. I think that 48%, and if you tell people that 50% of pregnancies end up in abortions, they know it's wrong. They can't tell you why on a principled level, but they have an
it's
understanding it
wrong.
is. So you think that 50% of the potential population being aborted, having an ended life, is not wrong?
No, because it's the woman. No, I don't. But I think that's because it's the woman's body and it's up to those people. For example, if you're getting abused by a man, for example, right? You're in an abusive relationship and you fall pregnant and you know, I'm not in a good position. My baby's probably going to get abused. I've been abused. Why can't a woman have that choice to get rid of it before? I understand. So
It's
when you
confusing the right to life to the quality of right.
Okay, so
So I'll explain more.
go
So
for it.
the right to life is universal, it's not conditional.
Yeah.
The quality of life is something different. So someone's quality of life outside of the womb, in your eyes, never determines its right to life. So for example, the same circumstance of a fetus, which is in an abused household, could also apply to a child who's outside the womb, which is the product of abuse.
Yeah.
They're still going to have a poor quality of life, but you would agree that we shouldn't kill children that are in abusive households.
But do you genuinely think a fetus inside of someone's, like, do you remember being inside your mum's stomach? I don't.
I don't really.
think
I remember being 1 year old.
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
Doesn't mean that 1 year old child should be killed.
No, 100%. I get where you're coming from.
Recollection is never a
but when
consideration of
you're
humanity.
When you're in someone, right, and you are growing, you're not a real form of life until you're born.
You are.
Until you get to a
Is it
certain
dead?
term. Well, it's not alive yet.
So it's dead.
But it's not alive yet.
Okay.
So where is the middle ground?
I'll tell you this for free. Typically, I'm saying this.
Yeah.
Natural organisms are either living or dead. If you reject that it's living, you're saying that what is inside of you is dead.
But
So
I'm
are
not
you saying that a
but
growing
I'm not
fetus is dead then?
I'm not accepting that it's alive, but I'm not accepting that it's dead.
What is it
either.
then?
Genuinely,
What is the
it's
classic-
a middle ground. This is what
There's
I'm
no
saying.
mid- there's no
Where is
such
the middle
thing.
ground? Because
There's
realistically,
no such thing as a middle ground. What you want to do
There
is
is.
excuse the behaviour of abortion.
No, I don't.
But
Because
you
I
don't
think
want
there
to
are
say
cases
you
where
don't.
it needs to
wait,
happen.
One second. You want to excuse the cases of any case of abortion because you haven't yet condemned abortions in the normative case of consensual sex. So you have this dilemma of whether you say it's dead, which is anti-scientific,
I don't say it's
or you
dead.
say it's living, and
I
then you
don't
have
say
this
it's
dilemma
living.
that you're killing something living.
I don't say it's living. So
What is it?
It comes down to, you know, like for example, people have abortions at like really late when like the baby you're really big, the baby's due. If you've just conceived and you've just had a baby, it's not got all of its stuff. It's not got its full brain. It's not got its full body. It's not got anything. It's not.
I'm not
actually-
fully developed. I'm only 17.
No. No. But what I'm saying is, when a baby or a
Does that mean
fetus,
I have
whatever,
less
is
rights
grow-
than you?
No. What I'm saying is when
Development never. Okay, I think you're spitfiring different points, and I think this is the real problem the pro-abortion argument has. Firstly, development is never a consideration of someone's human rights. I am less developed than yourself because I'm assuming you're older than
but
me.
we're in a completely different situation than a fetus in my.
Why?
Because if I just conceived and I had a tiny little fetus, I was 4 or 5 weeks pregnant, and
Yeah.
then I gave birth, the likelihood of that baby surviving is what, next to none. For
What
example,
is the likelihood of it just a delivered baby going out on its own without relying on the mother? nutrients.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
Viability.
at the beginning.
Okay.
I'm not talking about
the
an actual
reason
baby
the
that
reason
can
why I'm
survive.
giving different
I'm talking about
examples is
people.
it's a question of whether your points are consistent. So you pointed to development.
Yeah.
I am less developed than yourself. However, we still have the same essential human rights that enable us to survive. When it
Yeah, but
comes
you're
to
not in my stomach.
viability, one second. When it comes to viability, a 1-year-old is equally unviable independently of the mother than a fetus that's just been conceived. Without a parent, a 1-year-old is not going to survive. When it comes to what else you discussed, you talked about location.
Yeah.
Now, just because something is in you doesn't mean you have automatic jurisdiction of it.
But what if?
And it
what if
doesn't-
you know
and it
it's
doesn't
going
mean
to
it
be
is you.
better?
What,
if you
been
know-
dead?
No,
What's that? What you're saying that?
I would rather personally, if I was getting abused and raped, and I was pregnant, and I knew, and I couldn't get out of the situation, and I knew there was a chance that my kid was going to get abused, raped, and whatever else, I would probably have an abortion because I don't want my kid to go
So,
through that.
firstly, that is very few rare cases of.
Yeah, no,
Are you
no, I
using?
agree. I'm
Are
not
you
saying it's
using this?
everyone,
Are you using
but
this
I'm saying-
anecdote? Are you using the anecdote of the most worst situation possible to prove the 90% of abortion cases?
No. I'm
of course
using
not.
the fact that you've said.
Of course not. It's moving the goalpost. You're trying to appeal to the fact that some people might not have small stomachs to be consistent in saying yes, that is wrong. However, that is very small cases. For abortions, that's ridiculous. And that's sort of what you're doing in constructing your argument. Secondly, I would rather be living than dead. That's mostly the ability to, and there have been miraculous cases, if you want to use small anecdotes to prove the generalized position of abortion, there have been many people who have, glory be to God, triumphant over their abusers, and they've only been able to do that because they're living, right?
Right.
Like, I would rather be living than dead, and hopefully you're in the mental state to agree with me there.
So, I do, but I do also stick to my point. If there are extreme cases, I agree with you. That's not all of the cases. We can agree on that. That's not the majority.
Yeah.
That's not all of them. But for the ones where it is, why can't that be accepted anyway? Even if it is a few cases, why is that immoral?
Okay,
why
so
are those
can-
cases immoral?
That goes back to my previous question.
Yeah.
Can we agree then that in the cases of abuse and rape, you can have an
Yeah.
abortion, however,
Yeah.
outside of these cases, it's wrong?
Well, it's fine. What to not
No,
to keep
it's
the baby?
it's
you
keep the
mean?
baby. In the case of, in the most cases, 48% of pregnancies, like I said, were caused by
Yeah,
abortions.
yeah.
Right. Those 48% cases are not from rape, right?
Yeah.
They're from
Oh.
women that have made that their lifestyle choice, right?
But how do you know that? 'Cause
How
a
do
lot
I know
of
that?
women
'Cause-
lie, and a lot of women don't come out. There are a lot more cases. I'm not saying it's
You
the
think-
40%.
yeah,
but
of
I am
course not.
saying it may be more than you actually genuinely think it is. Like,
Firstly,
know,
in
like-
terms of rape, it's not an issue of being underreported, but the fact that police don't take it far. So women will go to stations, report the case of rape.
I've got to go in a minute.
No,
Okay.
do a couple
Sorry,
more.
I've got to go
By the
soon,
way,
but-
about 20,000 people are watching.
Okay.
So
Don't hate me, guys, for having an opinion. I'm really
no,
sorry.
you,
Okay,
you,
so
you,
we
you hold the
disagree,
you hold the opinion of most of the people in the
I'm
United
fine
Kingdom.
with you disagreeing with me. It's fine. I don't mind.
Listen, you hold to the opinion of the rest of the United Kingdom.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Well, I appreciate your opinion as well, and I think, I respect you for coming up here, and I hope that I've obviously not changed your mind, but I hope I've made you see a slightly different perspective like you have with me, and I feel like
Yeah.
we haven't changed our opinions, but we've got to
I would say this though.
Go on.
I think it's interesting that within the pro-abortion cause, it
Yeah.
seems like people point to the most inhumane cases in order to prove the rest of them.
No, I get what you're saying, and I think that is part of it because it is kind of like, but that does go on. But I do also think a lot of it is lack of education, like a lack of sex ed. Yeah, okay, we have sex education, but how many teenagers do we know of nowadays that are all having sex and all this? That wasn't how it used to be. It's very like what I'm trying to
As
say,
someone who's
sex is
recently
normalised.
well,
you know what? Too normalised.
Exactly. And this is why the most educated and wealthy societies are also the ones that have the highest amount of abortions. If you look at the poorest countries, but they're not having abortions. They're having children.
No, but they don't
Poor
have
countries
abortion, but they
actually have
also don't
more children.
Contraception. They don't have a means to education like that. They're in a completely different.
Even
even
areas like the Middle East, which do have sanitary and contraception products, they still don't decide to use them, and they don't have abortions.
I can't speak on other countries. I don't live in another country, so
I'm
can't
saying
speak
that
on
the
other
issue of
countries,
mass abortions seems like to be an issue exclusively within the West, when we're the most educated and the most technologically advanced, but we still have the most
but
amount
we
of
might be the
abortions.
most educated.
It's
but
not the
are we?
issue of
We could-
education.
We could be a rich country, we could be an educated country, but let's be real, everyone's having sex with everyone. It doesn't mean
Is that a
we're
good
actually
thing?
properly educated in what we should be
Is
doing.
that do you think that's a good thing?
No, I don't. I think if we had proper sex education, we had proper talks about it in school, and you learn.
I had
what's
proper
right, what's
talks
wrong.
about sex.
Yeah. Didn't we
It
all
just
get-
came about. Listen, I've only been 2 years away from having a secondary school sexual education. I could tell you that we are taught a lot towards what sex looks like, how to have responsible sex, what different STDs there are,
Yeah.
what type of contraception to
And do you know
use,
what?
how effective they
I
are.
love that for you, that
Yeah.
you've took that and you've done the right thing with it. But there are too many kids that are doing that.
Wait, so
and not
why
doing the right
all
thing
these
with it.
kids? If you can look at unions and the curriculums that are taught in terms of sexual education,
Yeah.
and they are mostly commensurate with learning how to have sex moderately. But we're still having more abortions. Why is it that we're the most educated generation on sexual education? However, we're also the most that have sex, we're the most who have unwanted
We're
pregnancies,
also-
and then we're the
also
most that have
one of the richest
abortions.
Countries, we have a lot of freedom. We can do what we want. A lot of things is accepted. If I wanted to go outside and dye my hair blue and have a blue mohawk, that would be
That's
fine
extreme
and
lib-
accepted here.
that's
But
extreme
what
liberalism.
I'm saying is, a lot of norms are very different to other countries and other sectors. So we can sit here and say, okay, yeah, we're really educated. Why have we got the highest abortion rate? But we're also a country that we can do anything. I can wake up tomorrow and be a cat if I wanted to be a cat. And people
Is
will
that a good
accept
thing?
me. No. Exactly. This is what I'm saying. It's not. a
Bring
good
back-
thing.
I
So
think that we
if
should
are-
bring
if
back
we are having proper talks and proper education.
I think you're confusing. I think
Right,
you're confusing education through bringing back
I just think that's a factor.
social convention.
No. I just think that's.
What
a
I mean
factor.
is that I think that we should not extreme shame. However, I think it should be incredibly shameful to be promiscuous, both on the case for the males and the females. More on the males, actually, in my understanding. I think we should bring back shame culture in some extent.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should bring back, like you said, cats, right? Like we've fell into such a liberal degeneracy that people can now accept the fact that people identify as cats. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, no,
I
agree.
think that we should bring back shame and also restraint and discipline within the next generation of people to understand that it's not socially acceptable to do these things. It's actually
agree with you on that
a
part.
downfall on it.
I can agree with you on that part 100%. I can. I think there is. I don't think it's the main factor, but I think education is a main factor. Where we live, I think who we're around, the people we grow up with, I think they all have factors on what we think and what we have. So we can sit here and say, is abortion immoral? Is it not? Is it right? Is it wrong? But realistically, we're not going to change everybody's mind, and we can sit here and say, oh, if everyone has an abortion, it's really wrong. But if it's what is right for them, we can't actually change everybody's
Actually,
mind. We can
it
maybe have a
seems
different
like
view,
you're trying to eat your cake and have it too. So you said to me, you shouldn't judge on what is right for them. However, you have an issue with the promiscuity culture of young people because a young person could go.
just- no,
Wait, one
okay,
second,
go.
because I let you speak.
No, yeah, go for it.
You said to me that, yeah, it is wrong that people identify as cats. It is wrong that people are having a lot of sex. However, you're saying to me as well is that if we have someone who wants to have abortion for the sake of that contraception, for example, that is what's right for them. However, a teen who's very lustful could say to me, you know, it's good for me to have sex with as many women as humanly possible. And that's what I mean is that we should really bring back the community values of this country. And that's how we ultimately resolve. It's not about education. It's never about education. You could teach kids a multitude of things. If you tell a kid that it's unhealthy to eat cookies, they're most likely going to eat those cookies en masse. Similar thing with sex, that you can teach them that sex is going to increase their chance of sexually transmitted disease, or increase their likelihood of divorce if they have several sexual partners, or increase their rate of having unwanted pregnancies, which are called abortion. However, it's pleasurable. And a kid who's quite influential and venerable, do you know what they're going to do? They're going to have sex because it's pleasurable. And you're going to tell them, because we live in a liberal society, you shouldn't do that for the reasons that we previously said. And they're going to say, well, who are you to judge me on what I feel like it's right for me? You're trying to hold to this way of thought when it comes to excusing abortion. However, when it comes to the real systemic issues facing the reason why we have abortion is because of the things that you're trying to use to excuse it, I think it's inconsistent.
I see what you're saying, but I don't know. I still stand by my points. I really, really do. I feel like I understand what you're saying in the sense that I'm kind of using it, but this is the world that we live in. Like at the end of the day, like I said,
You don't have to accept that.
No, but like I said, we are living in a world where we can do anything. We can wake up tomorrow and be whatever. And if someone wants to have an abortion, at the end of the day, you can't stop them. I can't stop them, and neither can other people stop them. And if it's down to your if someone comes up to me and says I'm a cat, I'm not going to believe that. But if they want to be a cat, they want to be a cat. Do you know what I
But
mean?
you don't
That's
think
it.
you should
If
prevent-
someone wants to have an abortion, I can't say don't have an abortion. That's so bad.
can
But
we
if they-
change-
If that's what's right for them, they can. All
Can
blindly
we
see that.
change-
Why should I be the one saying no? You're wrong for doing that.
Can
You're
I
wrong for-" I
can
can have an
I
opinion.
can I
I don't think
change
it's wrong.
can I change the circumstances of what we're talking about here? So you said that, you know, I can say don't do it, but beyond that I can't do much.
Yeah.
Now, what about like if you, within your family, let's make it a bit more personal, that there's someone who dealt on drugs, right?
Yeah.
You would say that's wrong.
Yeah.
You can't physically stop them. However, I think you would do more to prevent them doing it. And that's simply what I'm saying. On a personal level.
It's cases, because if someone was addicted to heroin and they were fully addicted to heroin, and someone's addicted to weed, I feel like they're a bit different.
Okay,
Like,
let's
do
say
you
they're
know
dealing
what
in
I'm
Class
saying?
A drugs.
Okay, then what?
Okay, you'd think that's wrong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wrong. Okay. If someone personally in your family was doing this, you know, you're saying to me that the only thing we should really do is like say shouldn't do that. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't do
Yeah.
it myself. However, I think you can do more and go out of your way to not physically stop them, but rather convince them that this is wrong. I think that as soon as we live in a liberal society that teaches you can do and encourage to do anything, and I can't stop you from doing these things, I think that is largely when the guardrails come off, it's derailed, and society falls apart. If I tell you you have the ability to do anything, and we have no moral restraint within our society, you're going to see what I see as a genocide. I think that nearly double the population being killed off is ridiculous. And it's not the cause of extreme cases of rape. It is in the case of disenfranchised young people having pleasurable sex and using it as a form of contraception, because in their eyes, abortion is a lifestyle. It's something where if after I've had sex with several of my partners, I decide to abort this fetus because I want to go out and have sex with someone else again. That completely devalues everything. It devalues the family unit. Would you devalue the family unit? It means everyone has to work. I'd prefer to live in a society where one person in a household can afford to work and pay for everyone else. As soon as you deregulate the family, you've deregulated society, you've deregulated your ability to work, and it completely messes up the social fabric of society.